All right, ladies and gentlemen, General Greene, God bless you all. I salute you, especially our troops serving in the Middle East. This is a World War III attack update. No, that is not hyperbole. This is a World War III attack update with Iran. There was an attack on the USS Abraham Lincoln just hours ago. This is being released in the mainstream media. It's being reported and confirmed by Fox News and the rest of the outlets. Not that we need them to confirm it, but it is out there. And this is a massive military escalation, a kamikaze drone on a one-way mission to attack the United States of America and Donald Trump. A Shahed 139 long-range loitering munition kamikaze drone. This is what it's known as. A Shahed 139 is a massive drone that, again, was sent by Iran. This is confirmed and shot down after hostile intentions. This is why while the USS Abraham Lincoln, of course, has been sailing in international waters. Now, this is crazy because this particular drone was on a one-way attack mission, which is a propeller-driven. If you don't know the drone specifically, it has a very simple airframe. It is optimized for long range and payload delivery rather than speed. Its range is around 1,500 to 2,000 kilometers per class, and it carries an extremely large warhead, making it more suitable to take down a warship, God forbid, like the USS Abraham Lincoln. Now, this brings us to a crescendo. Also, another report that a second drone has been sent to attack the USS Abraham Lincoln and may or may not have already been shot down. And there's more news than that. So this is incredible. I'm going to try to keep it short and poised today. But this is a military escalation beyond belief. Now, there was another event. I believe I have it here on X. Let me make sure I get this to you correctly and accurately. Again, we have been predicting that Donald Trump would either strike, which is the most likely option to decapitate and regime change, what many are calling could be bigger than the Berlin Wall, if that is successful, providing peace and prosperity in the Middle East for some time to come, although it won't be a very easy thing. Again, Iran is a first world nation that, of course, has been emblazoned in massive, deadly civilian protests over just the last couple of weeks. And so I'm reading here, just confirming NBC News, the Times of Israel. Prime Minister Witkoff says this: Iran, quote, can't be trusted. Of course, the Ayatollahs in Iran have promised a regional war if there is any escalation. So, guys, it's coming down to the breaking point, and there really is only two options. Donald Trump strikes, makes that move incredibly effective and strategic through a decapitation event with all of our military and naval assets in the region, and or, which would be the best case scenario, but I see it less likely, there could be a midnight deal if Iran comes to the negotiation table. But, you know, I think common sense would just say, especially from Israel and the United States and our allies' perspective, I don't think that they would have gone this far and have crossed these military escalation red lines not to finish it off. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's kind of optics here. Of course, peace is always the preferred solution, and we can pray for that, and we certainly hope that that is the case, but it really isn't likely. Now, let me find this as well, because there was another altercation, not only with the drone earlier today. Senate Republicans report, this came from their X account, that Senate Republicans stand behind the president. The Iranian regime is responsible for atrocities, they say, against its own people and has American BLOOD on its hands. The Ayatollah should heed President Trump's warnings. And in addition to the drone, there was another event. I'm just looking for this. Here it is. Fox News reports that there is a straight standoff. Armed Iranian gunboats attempted to board a U.S. oil tanker in another dramatic escalation. So there's been at least 2 to 3 events within the last couple of hours in the Strait of Hormuz, which again, this is extremely concerning because one of the big moves that Iran could use for leverage when it comes to oil, probably another reason Donald Trump assured that we, how do I say this, assured the Venezuela capture, because a lot of oil reserves, of course, are now under U.S. government control, preceding what Donald Trump knows will be an oil gridlock in the Middle East. Again, this is likely to outbreak not just into a world war calamity, but a regional war, just like the Ayatollahs have confirmed. Now, let's take a step back here, cooler heads. Let that prevail here for a minute. I've been saying for weeks now that the capitulation blow-off top event, I believe, in gold and silver, and this will affect risk markets, will be the Iran culmination. Again, gold and silver have largely been playing in the Iran uncertainty this entire time, and the markets always front run and are forward looking. So whether or not there's a midnight deal or an attack or a regional war, that'll then provide certainty and clarity for what Americans, and more importantly, Wall Street and the financial markets can expect moving forward. This is another reason for the dramatic volatility. I've been telling you to buy the dip, of course, in Bitcoin. That was a good move earlier this morning because Bitcoin held its ground, trading as low as 72,000. Now it's already up again to 76K. So again, volatility is your friend, and it is the friend of the faithful. And I'm here to level with you too. If you don't have conviction now, you never did. If you bet against Bitcoin, you will lose. If you bet against me, your general, you will lose. That is not an opinion, it is a guarantee. And if you bet against Donald Trump, you will be defeated. These are guarantees, ladies and gentlemen, and understand this is in God's hands. So a dramatic escalation in the Strait of Hormuz, a dramatic escalation, many of you probably weren't aware, what Iran sent towards our fleet. The USS Abraham Lincoln is a kamikaze drone. Let me show you a picture of this. Kind of looks straight out of Top Gun, which, by the way, I told you long ago was predictive programming for what's happening now. This is it. This is what the drone looks like. One-way mission, long range, carries a payload, detonates its target. Right here. You can look this up for yourself. I'm not hearing a lot of people talk about its capabilities. It's called the Shahed 139. So again, folks, this is really, really reaching a breaking point. Now, in additional news, the US dollar continues to implode. Massive hyperinflation threatens every single American. Also, confirmation from Melinda Gates, Bill Gates' ex-wife, that yes, Bill Gates is a monster, according to her. She didn't say that exactly, but she says she's really saddened by the grave atrocities that were committed on young girls. When asked about Bill Gates' contraction of a really disgusting, virulent STD as a result of the alleged Epstein trafficking ring that many believe, these are the allegations, Bill Gates was directly involved with. So Melinda just completely throws Bill under the bus today, essentially calls him a creep. And even the Clintons have now agreed, Hillary and Bill, to testify at a House hearing very shortly. So a ton going on. And again, folks, let's just take a step back here. God will expose these demons. Jesus Christ wins. Okay, all of these demons that locked you in your house in 2020 and told you to take the thing are now being exposed for their alleged gruesome, satanic evil doings. And keep in mind, these are the same people who are making all those recommendations in 2020. This is why I told you to stay and stand your ground. Even Melinda Gates, who would know, says that there needs to be accountability for what happened regarding the children. Also, in another massive escalation, the communist dictatorship regime of Xi Jinping has unveiled a new flying Star Wars aircraft carrier that would circumvent any U.S. technology, if it is to be believed. A space warship that could deploy unmanned fighter jets into American skies and launch direct EMP, EMF weapons. This has been revealed by the Telegraph. This is crazy. Let me show you this picture here. Look at this. This flies in alleged space. Okay, so it can circumvent pretty much all current technology if it's to be believed. I'm not saying I believe this, but this did just come out today. So again, PSYOP, war propaganda, rhetoric, kamikaze drones, Epstein file dumps, Melinda Gates berating her ex-husband, said it was even why she left the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So all is coming to light, all is being exposed, and this is great news because number one, well, it just shows how smart all of you are, having stood your ground during massive tyranny in 2020 and brute force war propaganda and attacks and lockdowns and bank runs, and the list goes on and on. It makes you, just confirms who was right and who was wrong. So at least we've got, that going for us today. I'm going to keep you guys updated, but again, Iran has escalated. So what's the move here? Many people are fearful that there's going to be some kind of false event that will promote the escalation. So let's pray that Donald Trump has a, discerning mind, that he's tactful in his approach. If he does decide to make a move militarily, that it's done in self-defense, that it is measured, strategic, and successful. Again, I'm not saying I agree or necessarily disagree with what's going on in this part of the world, but, there is an argument to be said that a successful strike truly could open up this part of the world and solidify peace for a very long time. I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers because I don't. That's all in God's realm. But I'll tell you who doesn't have the answers. Traitorous scumbags like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who now, after serving the president for years, says, quote, he was all lies, which I believe is only herself setting herself up for a future run for presidency or vice president. That does nothing to serve the country at all. Nothing. Splits the party, degrades Trump's power, the solidity of Republicans. So none of that is good news. That is only distracting and dividing and conquering what I believe is the greatest country in the world. So I think it's unproductive, not being solution-oriented as these events escalate. Now, keep in mind, tariffs were instituted right before the attack on Pearl Harbor against Japan. So the same type of tariffs Donald Trump has been instituting, especially with China, are reminiscent of that forward-looking event. Ray Dalio was on camera earlier this morning. He said that we are now in a capital war, that Europe, which appears like they hate the United States now, which, by the way, owns disproportionately and buys all of our U.S. Treasury debt because China and the rest of these countries have been selling the weak dollar this whole time, if they don't buy, well, we don't got any buyers. So I want this to sink in that the tariff wars, the splitting apart of the eastern western hemispheres, the talk of Greenland and Canada and Mexico and Venezuela and Iran is all a setup. And here's how I think that we know Trump will strike Iran. Because he wouldn't have taken out Maduro and Venezuela if he didn't plan on that. Or at the very least, he was going to take some insurance by gathering oil, and he gathered Bitcoin, by the way, from the former Maduro alleged regime in preparation for bottlenecks. Okay, so that's kind of, when you look at it from that perspective, it makes sense. If a future bottleneck is expected, if a shortage of oil in the Middle East, which will send oil a lot higher, and then I believe we'll capitulate, gold and silver will capitulate on the news, and then when there's a resolution, dump. And again, if you look at the chart with silver, it looks like a dead cat bounce. I mean, I told you it would collapse. It was down 41% a week ago on a parabola. It's bounced, but it looks like a dead cat bounce. And so I think as this plays out, this will move and transition into risk assets, as I have been espousing here with 100% conviction going on weeks now. And keep in mind, I was the first in the world to predict the 3 Iranian nuclear proliferation site attacks before anybody else. I predicted the buildup in America's cities with the National Guard that led to Minneapolis and what's going on the ground and civil war in the streets and the bank runs that started January 30th with Metropolitan Chicago Bank, which will result in dominoes tipping, and what now Ray Dalio, my friend, is also suggesting will result in capital wars, capital controls, bank runs, dollar collapse, and what I fear, although I'm not fearful of it, but it's something to consider, is that I think that the event will be some kind of cyberkinetic warfare here in the States. Again, Iran doesn't really have that powerful of a military or navy, but what they do have is asymmetric capabilities. God forbid here on the ground in the United States, I won't go into detail, but we know what that means. But also they're Stuxnet-like you-know-whats that can infect the banking system, the financial system, cause runs, uncertainty, and essentially a digital war. You have to understand that the wars being fought now are far different from the blitzkriegs of the days of World War II or World War I. It's all tech-based, right? All of it is. Just like 2020. And this is what I think a lot of people missed, even maybe some of you tuning in. The 2020 event was war. That's what you must understand. That was the beginning of the war. Now that it's coming out that Bill Gates and all these pieces of crap and scum are directly connected to Epstein, that now provides us factual evidence that all their fear-mongering, everything they did, this is confirmed by Melinda Gates and others, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, is directly connected to Epstein. What many people believe was a depopulation event by these same people. This is what people believe. So I have to pose it that way. I have to say that. So again, what do you do, folks? You put your faith in God. You get your money out of the banks. You own real physical assets. Still save in gold and silver, but I'm telling you, expect a lot of volatility there. Gold's a good buy here. Gold, you could load up on. Silver, be careful. Again, we've seen huge parabolas, which is why I told you to sell, and dollar cost average out as you rotate and buy the asymmetric gain, potential 1,000x returns in crypto right now. That's where the fear is. That's where the uncertainty is. That's where the max peak FUD is. Okay, let's go to my X feed here too, and I want to thank you guys for all the tremendous follows. We're about to go completely private at 150K because I really like interacting with you, so it's your last chance to follow me over there for free. We just hit 420K. I don't smoke, nor should you kids tuning in, but we hit 420K plus new followers on Facebook. So thank you for that as well. Do me a favor and like and share because your life truly depends on it. Here's Melinda Gates pretty much crying today, calling her husband an Epstein trafficker. The same scumbag, right, that told you to fear for your life, her husband, in 2020, being proven to be dramatic, provable scum. And there was another point I was going to make too, but my anger kind of got in front of me there, so I kind of forgot what I was going to say. It just makes me so angry to know that, you know, all of Washington, D.C. are just these trafficking scum, these bailout pricks, these devilish, demonic, blood-gurgling freaks, BlackRock and the rest of them, and just the sewer pit of hell that exists. I mean, God bless our president. I mean, he's only one man draining the swamp, for crying out loud. So we are at absolute war. Now, in addition to that, we are expecting new all-time record highs in the Dow to crush 50K imminently, hit a new 52-week high today. Japan just crushed up only a new record high earlier this morning. So again, what's going to happen, folks? It's obvious. Regime change, the equivalent of the fall of even a more bigger but metaphorical Berlin Wall. A move into the reset, a declaration of emergency executive order, of which Donald Trump will declare during the crisis, just like Bretton Woods, but in a digital format. U.S. stablecoins will replace the old fiat currency, and the swamp will be drained, and all the lies and all the darkness is coming to light now and being exposed to the American people. If this isn't a signal to join forces with other Christians, other good men, women, like you tuning in, I don't know what is. All my faith, folks, is in our Lord, Jesus Christ, and he is coming soon. Pray for all the civilians around the world. Pray for Iran. Pray for the United States. Pray for Israel. Pray for everybody. Because the biblical event and the storm of a century is here. Iran, World War III.